Hey guys, Edward here from Edward279, the mixed content creator. Food. It seems like we just can't get enough of it, and while it's pleasurable to us, oftentimes the opposite is true for our planet. Deforestation, climate change, and pollution are just some of the problems driven by the demand for food. But some foods are clearly worse for the health of our green and blue planet than others. So without further ado, and also because it's Earth Day at the time of recording, here are 13 of the worst foods for the environment. The millennials' favorite fruit was actually mentioned in one of my previous videos, 20 foods we could lose to climate change. But, as it turns out, avocados are actually not as environmentally friendly as that video portrayed them to be. You see, avocados need a lot of water, and in their native range of the rainforests of Latin America, there's lots of it. Unfortunately, most of the world's avocados are grown in the drought-prone region of California, where it's causing a water shortage like never before. The same is true in Chile, in which the booming avocado industry has guzzled up so much water that thousands of Chilean civilians have started protests against the avocado industry in attempts to stop it from robbing them of all of their water. So be careful where your avos come from. You definitely wouldn't want your avocado on toast being at the heart of a massive Chilean water crisis, would you? Even though it's meat that gets all the slander for being destructive, shellfish, most notably prawns and shrimp, are also leaving the environment in ruins. Not only are farmed prawns and shrimp one of the biggest releasers of water pollution, making room for shrimp farms almost always involves the destruction of mangrove swamps, with up to 40% of mangrove loss being blamed on shrimp farming. What makes this worse is that mangroves are not only a safe haven for marine life, but mangroves also sequester lots of CO2. And while that sounds good, mangroves' superior sequestration ability backfires when they're destroyed for shrimp farms, as all the CO2 bound into plant life gets released when said plant matter is destroyed, even more so than when rainforests get felled to farm cattle. Oh, and since shrimp need a lot of feed, farming them drives down wild populations of marine animals from which their feed is made. So if you're concerned about the environment, shrimp and prawns should be eaten as little as possible. While rice is a cheap source of nutritious food, rice's widespread availability comes at a cost, and that cost is environmental destruction, and there are two dangerous reasons why. Number one, just like avocados, rice needs a shitload of water, with 1 kilogram of rice requiring 3,400 liters of water to grow. And two, rice is a colossal emitter of methane, with rice paddies emitting a steaming hot 10 million tons of methane annually. That's even more methane than what pork, poultry, lamb, mutton, and dairy products emit in the same time interval. Yikes! And as if that wasn't enough, rice is also a major contributor to the destruction of wetlands, which are major carbon sinks and release lots and lots of plant-warming carbon dioxide when they're destroyed. That adds up to a food that not only needs a lot of water and land to grow, but also emits more greenhouse gases than meat or dairy. So overall, while rice is cheap, it's anything but environmentally friendly. Eggs are one of the most widely eaten foods on Earth, but unfortunately, chicken farming for egg production is easily one of the worst practices when it comes to environmental conservation. Chicken farming is just as bad as other livestock, with big CO2 emissions as well as pollution, deforestation, and biodiversity loss. Not only that, but the soy that chickens, as well as other livestock, eat is also contributing to deforestation. All the while the waste from chicken farms is polluting rivers and turning the water quality absolutely disgusting. And the CO2 emissions? Well, eggs emit more CO2 than any plant-based food that isn't chocolate, but milk and meat still beat out eggs, both of which will appear later on this list from their ridiculous CO2 emissions. Oh, and just like with milk, chickens are often forced to breed for egg production, and these chickens are also kept in cramped and unsanitary conditions. However, eggs do still have a lower impact than other animal foods like meat or dairy, so it's not all bad. While this protein-rich plant is often claimed as an eco-friendly alternative to meat, soybeans aren't actually that much better. Now, to be clear, most of the world's soy production, over 70% to be precise, is split into two products: soybean meal, which is used as livestock feed, and soybean oil, which is used as cooking oil. Only 19% of soybeans go into products meant for human consumption, excluding soybean oil, such as edamame, tofu, and soy milk. But despite this, soybeans as a whole are a costly crop for the environment. Tropical rainforests in Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina are one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth, yet are burned down and clear-cut on a massive scale to make way for soybean farms, putting several animal and plant species at risk of extinction and also emitting tons of greenhouse gases. Surprisingly, however, most of soy's greenhouse gas emissions come from the animals soy is used to feed, not the beans themselves. So if you're eating tofu or soy milk, you're mostly in the clear. Now, if you've watched my 20 foods we could lose to climate change video, you might have seen bananas on that list. What I didn't tell you in that video is that bananas are actually not great for the planet themselves. Despite them being on this list, however, bananas, on their own, don't have a very heavy carbon footprint, as most of a banana's emissions come from the vehicles used to transport them from where they were grown, primarily in Latin America, to places where they're consumed, primarily North America and Europe. But bananas also produce other types of waste, most notably in the form of water pollution from waste dumped into waterways from banana packing plants. They also require an insane amount of agrochemicals to grow, being the crop with the second highest chemical use after cotton. And much like with soy, deforestation is a big problem. So the next time you enjoy a banana, try to think about all the destruction this delicious fruit comes with. While wild-caught fish is leading to a massive overfishing problem, it doesn't get much better when you look to farmed fish. In fact, it gets worse, as it comes with its own set of environmental hassles to wrangle with. For one, diseases. Farmed fish can easily transmit deadly diseases to wild populations, which is especially bad in species that are endangered in the wild. But how these diseases are treated isn't very good either, as tons of antibiotics are used, which not only causes water pollution alongside other types of waste, but also fuels the already growing antibiotic resistance crisis, in which bacteria start developing into antibiotic-resistant strains. And like other types of livestock, fish are often kept in crowded conditions, allowing for pollutants like ammonia and nitrates to build up, spilling into nearby water and poisoning delicate marine ecosystems. So maybe it is better to purchase wild-caught fish anyhow. It hurts like hell for a chocolate lover like me to say this, but chocolate of any kind is anything but environmentally friendly. Cacao beans are chocolate's main ingredient, and unfortunately, the high demand for chocolate has sparked massive deforestation to make room for growing cacao. In Côte d'Ivoire, the world's largest producer of cacao beans, upwards of 70% of illegal deforestation in the country is for growing cacao. However, chocolate's destructive potential doesn't stop there, as other ingredients such as milk, sugar, and palm oil are also often added, further increasing chocolate's harmful impact on the environment. So what can you as a chocolate lover do? The answer? Look for brands that are Fair Trade or Rainforest Alliance, as these are signals of a sustainable snack. Now that's what I call the sweet taste of protecting our planet. As one of the cheapest fats and oils you can buy, palm oil is ubiquitous, being used in everything from chocolate to shampoo. But this ubiquitous oil has a dark side, as palm oil is by far the leading cause of deforestation in Southeast Asia, leaving many species like pygmy elephants, orangutans, and Sumatran rhinos in danger of going extinct. But clearing forests for palm oil has another bad side, as deforestation, especially in the form of burning, releases the CO2 bound up in the vegetation, contributing massively to greenhouse gas emissions. And much like other crops, oil palms are grown in monocultures, farming systems in which a large swath of land is planted with just one crop. This contributes hugely to soil degradation, but deforestation, emissions, and soil degradation aren't it, as water pollution is also a problem. So the next time you buy shampoo or chocolate, why not do the planet a favor and avoid brands that use palm oil? Your cup of joe might be nice for you, but for the planet, probably not. Much like other crops on this list, coffee contributes heavily to deforestation, destroying biodiverse ecosystems and putting several plant and animal species at risk of extinction. And just like with bananas, coffee processing plants frequently dump their waste into waterways, contributing to pollution that kills marine life. And speaking of water, coffee, just like chocolate and several other crops on this list, uses lots of it, with 140 liters of water needed to produce 1 cup of coffee. But that's not it, as monoculture coffee frequently causes soil degradation and erosion. And the emissions aren't great either, with the whole burning down of rainforests in order to grow coffee being the main source. So what to do as for your morning cup of coffee? Just like with chocolate and many other products grown in the tropics, look for beans that are certified as Rainforest Alliance or Fair Trade, as brands with these labels typically use more sustainable practices than non-certified brands. That means you can love both caffeine and the environment at the same time. Talk about a win-win! This one should be a no-brainer, as if you're anything like me and have Googled the worst foods for the environment, dairy is almost guaranteed to pop up. There are several reasons why dairy is bad for the planet, but let's start with emissions. If you've watched even a single video on climate change, chances are you've probably heard that cows burp and fart insane quantities of methane. And while that is true, there's more to milk than belching bovines though, as their diet is also harsh on the planet. Like I said before, over 70% of soy is used for livestock, and that's also a big cause of Amazon deforestation alongside cattle themselves. But wait, there's more. Let's talk shit. Each year, the world's cows make anywhere from 15 to 20 million metric tons of poop a year. And if improperly managed, all that poop, alongside antibiotics and other waste, leaks into waterways, further contributing to biodiversity loss. So the next time you go to buy milk, why not choose a plant milk instead? As the most commonly used sweetener in the world, sugar is not only bad for you, the growing of sugarcane also does a number on the environment too. For one, sugar is a thirsty crop, with 1 pound, or half a kilogram, of sugar needing around 198 gallons, or roughly 749.5 liters of water. Second, at harvest, the leaves and tops are burned down to leave only the sugar-bearing stalks, and all of that combusting plant matter releases lots of greenhouse gases, up to 241 kilograms of greenhouse gases for each ton of sugar. And when it comes to pollution, sugar also fails hard, as sugar mills produce loads of both wastewater and solid waste. Worse still, plant matter and sludge from these mills often decays in waterways, with the bacteria taking all of the available oxygen and causing massive fish die-offs. But that's not all. In Brazil, sugar is the leading cause of Amazon deforestation as well. So if you want to protect the planet, 'tis best to lay off the sugar. This last one should also be a no-brainer, as there's plenty of headlines saying that meat is bad for the environment, and in truth, it is. For one, meat, especially beef, emits tons of greenhouse gases. 1 kilogram of beef emits 99.5 kilos of CO2. A kilogram of lamb emits more than 20, a kilo of pork emits 7, and poultry emits 6 kilos of CO2. But it doesn't end at CO2. Methane, a greenhouse gas 25 times more potent than CO2 at trapping heat, is another byproduct of meat, especially beef. The feed we use to grow livestock is also unsustainable, as feed crops are directly responsible for 85% of the soil erosion related to agriculture. Meat, as well as the soy that feeds the industry, is also a major driver of deforestation, which in turn contributes to biodiversity loss. And talking about poop yet again, decomposing livestock manure also emits butt tons, pun definitely intended, of ammonia, methane, and CO2. So yeah, out of all the foods on this list, meat truly deserves the title of the worst food possible for the environment. So there you have it, the top 13 worst foods for the environment. We hope you enjoyed this video. As always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!